Hey, Miss
I
Crowley.
was, hey, how you doing?
Let's get into it, Miss Crowley. Let's just go on and
Well,
get into
I, yeah,
it.
I'm so sorry. It took me a
Let's
minute to get back.
let me just get to why I called, because I like I said, there is nothing I could do about what the records you're creating in Starkville. Ever since that my case went over to the hearings office, part of my proof that you're making false records is the facts that I just sent to you that shows the attorney's name that was used to set up the fraudulent application is a dog whistle used by white boys to signify that all you have to do is dictate it to your system that I'm no longer allowed in the building. That way, I can't bring in evidence that shows the records in your office are false. So part of my evidence is that your records now say that I personally am a threat to the safety of Social Security Administration employees, and I can prove that's false because I've also sent you a fax asking you to inspect my records in the presence of a third party, and nobody's responded to that. I don't know if you have it or not, but I sent it to you requesting that we meet in front of a law enforcement officer. I show my records and show what I have said what should be put in there, and then you show what your response is in front of the law enforcement officer. I just think that's fair because that's what's in the rules. But I called today because that response is going to have to come in writing. I've sent something in writing. I'm expecting something in writing, not a phone conversation. So I'm waiting on those responses from those two faxes, but instead I'm getting these notices still, with the one we talked about from Baltimore. I'm still getting them. I got another one today. And after talking to you, I thought it was made clear since 2017, regardless to what key words that you see in the appeal, the entire context of every appeal that I file says I'm filing it because the Starkville field office is creating false records. They created a false onset date that May 23rd, 2000 is an arbitrary date that doesn't apply to anything, and it doesn't match with the records that are on record with the Treasury Department. I wasn't allowed to see my records. So I'm just trying to find out who's doing it. Right now, someone is sending me these notices after I requested to see my records from you and having an interview in front of a law enforcement officer. So who is sending me this instead?
Okay. Got the notice. You just recently got a notice. Is that what you said?
Today. The same thing. It just says the same thing. That let me see. Did you get the faxes that I sent to you the other day requesting to see the claims folder, to see the entire record, and to have an emergency interview so I can inspect my record for errors? Did you get those?
I have some requests from you, and I was going to ask you about those.
Oh, well, they're pretty self explanatory to me. I don't want, as I stated earlier, I don't want to discuss them over the phone unless you schedule it as an emergency interview and I receive it as a notice saying I have questions about the facts that you sent on this date, that date, or whatever. And then we schedule it so that the call itself can be marked in the Social Security Administration system. So if there are any questions about what we discussed during the interview or what we discussed about that issue, it is on record. So do you do have those faxes? So respond to me in writing regarding those faxes because I put them directly to you because you were the person that I discussed the misrepresentations in my record with last. So if you could respond to those, like I said on your voicemail, because they are related to errors in my record, you were only allowed 5 days from the time I first told the Social Security Administration that there were errors in my record, including the onset date and not filing Form 820 or the expedited reinstatement that I submitted. So those 5 days were gone since 2017. Everything that comes from the Social Security Administration is now late. And I personally believe they have only put you in on the phone to deal with this situation because I got a lot of evidence that's going to send a lot of white men to jail, and they don't want me to send any more white men to jail. So they're now putting someone black, preferably a woman, in charge so that you can try to protect all the white men who just got caught committing this crime in that Starkville office. So who is this? Who is sending these notices?
That's right.
Because you know and I know that none of them, you can't find one document at the Social Security Administration that says Zori Rush walked in here and told us that this application was fraud and that he actually submitted it on this date, that his record said that. No document that the Social Security Administration has written actually says that that happened. And I got another one today where they are actually still avoiding the plain fact that I said that. So somebody needs to, now that you have that facts, the only way that I can prove that this notice didn't come from you is to find out who it actually came from.
Is it dated 2/28, February 28th, or February 29th?
Oh, you may be right. You may have caught me there. No, no, that would still mean it is. It is. No, it is. That would mean, just to clarify, that would mean because it says February the 28th and my date here says February the 27th. This is happening a lot. That would mean that this notice that I got today is in response to the faxes that I sent you the other day. This would be an official response on behalf of the Social Security Administration to the faxes that I sent to you the other day until I get a notice regarding those faxes. And you and I both know this has nothing to do with what those faxes are saying.
Well, yeah, that's why I had questions about your faxes. If you want me to respond to you in writing, I definitely will, because I had a lot of questions. I didn't know why we were sent some of this stuff, so I wanted to make sure I understood why.
Well, all I can tell you is, as far as I know, from what teleservice tells me, from Baltimore Processing, and everybody at the Social Security Administration, is that if I have false records, the only somebody that can correct them is the field office. So that's why I sent that to you. Is that from my understanding, from everyone, including law enforcement, whose job it is. That's the reason why I'm saying this, is because I know a lot of the law enforcement officers, and I know they're ignorant. So I know that they're being hired by people who aren't going to identify the Social Security Administration keeping false records as a crime from just a citizen reporting it. So the officers whose job it is to actually go in there, when I say that there's someone in that office that's making false records in my name, the officers whose job it is to go in there with me to look at the records and get them fixed, they don't even know it's their job to do it. So what I do every day is not try to fix those records in Starkville, is I try to find a law enforcement officer to assist me with going to the Starkville office and inspecting my records, because the Starkville office has refused. And you and I both know that no Social Security office or any office in the world has the right to refuse me to allow me to inspect and correct my records. That's the Privacy Act training that all of you should have taken. So that's why I'm trying to find who's instructing everybody to send these notices instead of those facts. Since you don't know, aren't able to do that, and we've clarified you have that issue at the field office. My fax number is the fax number that I faxed you from. Feel free to fax me back there. I don't know if you charge for that, but it's not going to cost me, and it's going to help me if you use fax. You're not allowed to use fax, are you?
No, I can text you.
Okay, well, if you have any questions related to those faxes that I sent to you, please send them to me because I requested an emergency appointment with a third party that's listed in the program operations manuals so we can inspect my records and we can actually identify the errors in the records and get them corrected because this isn't making any sense for people to be sitting on the phones telling me you're crazy, so we're not going to fix your records. That just
Oh, no,
doesn't make
okay.
any sense.
Okay.
And
Okay.
that's what Terry
Go back
did
to
before you came on the phone.
Yeah. Well, I did want to, because you remember we talked for a long time. I had some stuff that I was looking up for you from that conversation. And it took me a while, but I got answers to your questions.
Wait. I don't have it literally right now. Let me be clear because Terry seems to understand. From what I understand, the Social Security Administration is supposed to be working on my behalf to maintain accurate records so that I get an accurate benefit payment from the Department of Treasury. So when the Social Security Administration and I are saying different things about what's in my records, that has to be resolved by someone else. I've already initiated that process where I have said that the Social Security Administration only had 5 days to at least allow me to inspect my records, and instead they started creating records saying that I was a threat to them. So I'm suing not necessarily you, but the lawsuit that I have filed against the Social Security Administration says that you are still keeping records under my name and refusing to discuss with me how to get them corrected, and that you are causing me injury by preventing me from seeing doctors with the records that you have right now. So this is more or less the longer it takes and the more difficult it is for me to get the records corrected is the more evidence that I have is because the Starkville office has false records in my name. So the longer you
Okay.
keep them as the way you have them, and the longer I say that those records are false, you and I both can't be getting the right benefit amount from the Treasury. So what I'm suing for is literally your salary. I'm literally suing to have the time period for where my records were created falsely and I was saying that they were false. I'm suing to have every individual who did not correct those records either be terminated and never work for the federal government again and surrender their salaries for the period of time that they were working there. That's what my lawsuit
Okay.
claims. So the person I
One
talked to,
thing.
Terry,
One.
she
One.
knew that, but everybody, I just wanted to clarify that there is already an action that says you are intentionally preventing me from correcting my records.
Okay. So just one thing. I do understand what you're saying. I do understand that from the stuff you sent in. I get it. But have you, from my previous conversation, it looks like you were suing and trying to go through the pursuit of suing through Social Security.
Oh no,
Are
no,
you outside of Social
that's
Security?
the thing. That's the thing. It's a whole political process that has to go through to find a law enforcement to actually go into your building to begin the process of suing the Social Security Administration. That must happen
Gotcha.
first. There must be. It's supposed to be the Office of Inspector General. I don't know why they haven't been in there, but I've already filed the report. But what happens
Okay.
first is the law enforcement officer goes in, look, he doesn't have to go with me, goes in and looks to see, did he say that his alleged onset date was this date, or is this just an arbitrary date that they wrote in? When he sees that, then that initiates the process where what they call where I have earned the right to a judicial review without the assistance of the Social Security Administration. It's a very first I have to prove. First, I have to have a law enforcement officer as a secondary source prove that the Social Security Administration is entering information that I didn't give them. And I don't have that yet because, like I told you earlier, all the law enforcement officers around here, I know them personally. I know they're too dumb to know. They say, "Oh, it's federal property. We can't go." I know the law, and I know that it's their job, the Starkville Police Department and the sheriff's office, to walk me into that office to verify whether or not what you're saying is there, and then refer it on to those other agencies that are liable for what you're doing. But I can't get that done because they're not doing it. And they're not even responding to me either. So as soon as that gets done, that's what's going to happen is I'm going to come for those salaries in damages and recovery of damages for the Starkville office refusing to change the records. All that being said, I've studied the law long enough and the Social Security Act long enough to know that those two faxes are the only way that you can fix my records now. I've already sent Form 1133 to the Office of Department of Treasury, and I'm waiting on it to be processed. And I have already alleged that the Starkville field office directly to the Department of Treasury is submitting fraudulent payments under my name.
Okay.
I've already did that, but that won't change the records at the Starkville office. Only way I can change the records at the Starkville office is to use the procedures I sent to you in the fax.
Okay. Will you? Okay. So that was another thing I looked up for you about the Form 1133. I did not find the Form 1133 for you, and the reason why I didn't find it is because we didn't need it. We didn't need a Form 1133.
Ma'am, you're doing exactly what I told you not to do. And I've asked you not to because I know it to be a crime because I'm suing you for it. As I just stated, I've already submitted Form 1133 because the Social Security Administration created false records under my name. I needed Form 1133, but the Social Security Administration didn't need Form 1133. But I've already found it because I did not get any assistance from anyone about the double check that was negotiated in 2016 because everyone at the Starkville field office wanted to pretend like I did not get those two presumptive payments in 2015 and was paid again for those payments in 2016 once my critical payments were reinstated, and you're still doing it now. I mean, you did
You
the
got to let me speak. Wait. I
I did
understand you want to.
I allowed you to fax me. I'm clarifying
Okay.
what needs to happen in order to
Okay.
protect me and you is Form 1133 has been filed. Your opinion on whether or not it needs to be filed is
No,
in
that's the thing.
violation of my
That's the
First
truth.
Amendment right
That's the truth.
to say
No.
that it has been filed already. So I'm just trying to help you.
Well, no, sir, I don't need any help.
Okay.
I don't. I understand though that what you're trying to do, and I
Uh
do
huh.
appreciate it. So I
Uh
just
huh.
wanted to explain to you that why we didn't need the form, but I will respond to you in writing. So it's time for me to go. I'm gonna go and I'll respond to everything in writing for you. That's not a problem.
Thank you.